You Booked It, episode 71. Hey, entertainers and performers of the world. I'm your host, Dane Reese, and welcome to You Booked It, where I chat with inspiring entertainment professionals 7 days a week. By digging into their journey, we're going to discover everything you need to do to have a successful entertainment career. You know, because training usually skips that part about how to actually make your skills work for you in the real world. Fellow entertainers, my drive here at You Booked It is to share the inspiring and incredible journeys of successful entertainment professionals. We're here to support your journey. So go to youbookeditpodcast.com and join the You Booked It email community, where we dig deep into truly actionable things you can be doing right now to book that next audition, submission, or gig. If you enjoy this free podcast, please show your support and search for You Booked It on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app, where you can subscribe so you don't miss an episode, leave a rating, and review. And now, let's do this. Okay, let's get started. I am excited to introduce my guest today, Brittany Guinane. Are you ready for this, Brittany?
Yes, I'm ready. I can't wait.
All right, let's do it. Brittany works as a dancer, showgirl, go-go, and model for shows, corporate events, conventions, and industrials. Career highlights include Folies Bergère, Fantasy, and Jubilee, where she was dance captain. She has also danced for the world's top DJs at LAX, Tao, Lavo, XS, Hakkasan, and Marquee. Brittany, that was a quick intro of who you are and what you've done, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Fill in the gaps, who you are, and a little bit more about what you do as a professional in the entertainment industry.
Okay, well, I grew up in Detroit, dancing in a dance studio, doing competitive dance, and I knew I wanted to continue dancing. I thought I wanted to be a dance teacher, so I actually went to college and got my BFA in dance performance, mainly concert dance. And while I was there, I decided I would like to be a Las Vegas showgirl. And so I packed my bags after graduation and moved to Las Vegas, where for 10 years I performed in some of the production shows, which you mentioned. And with the closing of that last show, Jubilee, I went into more of the freelance modeling, gig work, and got my job dancing in nightclubs. And I've been doing that for the past 3 years.
Fantastic. Well, let's move on to this next section here. And Brittany, look, I am a sucker for a good quote. What is your favorite quote you'd like to share with everyone?
The quote that I really like is that everything that you desire is outside of your comfort zone, because if it was so easy as to be inside of your comfort zone, you would already have it. So in order to get the things that you really want in life, you might be a little scared, you might be a little nervous, but you have to push yourself. And I kind of find whenever I do have that talk with myself, no, Brittany, just do it. Just put yourself out there. It'll be fine. I'm always so glad that I did.
Absolutely. And I can totally relate to that as well. And you're right. I think that if you aren't feeling a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit unsettled with what you're trying to do, then you're not really pushing hard enough. It's very easy to, rest on our laurels, especially if we book a big job and we've been really looking forward to it and we make that happen for us. There is certainly that time where you have to go, oh, let's just relish in this and enjoy that we landed this dream contract. But at some point, you need to turn that switch back on and start pushing again, right?
Exactly. And I've been guilty of that. In some of those shows, I was in Jubilee for 6.5 years. You get that job that you really love and you stay there. But actually right now is a great example. We're kind of all pushed to, I think everyone's a little bit nervous. Everyone's a little scared, not knowing what's happening or what's coming next in these times. And now's that time to just kind of keep pushing yourself and see where it takes you. Everyone's being really creative. You've started your podcast. So it's a scary time, but it could be a really exciting time for everyone to kind of get a new beginning or a twist on something old to make it work for now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're kind of blessed if we look at it this way to have this time right now to delve into projects that maybe were on the back burner or just little things in the back of our head that we just didn't have the time to commit to it. in the moment, because all of us as professional entertainers, especially in that Las Vegas market, we are always hustling and looking for that next gig, that next job.
Yeah, it's been a nice downtime to really explore what it is that makes you happy. And when you have all this free time and you have the choice of how to spend almost every day, that's kind of interesting to see where that takes you.
Absolutely. Well, let's move on to this next section. And Brittany, you're an entertainer. I am an entertainer. And I think that you'd agree. This industry can be one of the most subjective, brutally honest, personally emotional industries in existence. And you know as well as I that in order to create and have a successful career in this industry like you're having now takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while yeah, of course, there is an outrageous amount of fun and excitement doing what we do. There are also our fair share of obstacles, challenges, and failures we are going to experience and we're going to have to move forward through. So tell us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career, and how did you come out the other side better because of it?
I don't know if there's any key failure, but I would say being in Las Vegas, there's a lot of things that go into what you get hired for. Part of it is how you dance, part of it is how you look, or having a certain niche or a certain specialty. So I think over the years, there's been times where you get these criticisms and it feels devastating at the time, but you kind of just have to get past it. It's like, okay, well, that's not going to work. So how do I proceed from here? What I thought was going to happen is not going to happen. Let's turn this way. Or, okay, you didn't like my hair color. Well, I can fix that. Let's do that and see if that works. I think these are all things growing up dancing. I always thought, well, if my dancing's good and I want the job and I audition and work hard, I'll get it. But there's so many other things that go into it. And it's hard sometimes not to take it personally, especially when I first moved to town and you're young and you get put on wait notice or whatever. It's devastating. You think it's the end of the world, but it's really not. It's just you have to take a step back and think like, okay, is this something that I can fix? Is this maybe not the right path for me? I think if you really just want to be in this career dancing, you don't just get pigeonholed into one position or one show or one job. You have to kind of be open to other possibilities, and you might find something that you're right for that surprises you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're so right. There are so many different factors that go into casting decisions, and they are so far out of our control. Well, most of the factors, I should say, are out of our control. But I love that you're saying, look, you have to move on. What can you do about it? Is there something that I can adapt? Is there something there? Because that also comes from the maturity of being in that room, doing it time and time and time again, and really realizing that you can control some aspects of it, and for those things to take ownership and to see what you can do to make yourself better and see if you can make yourself more hireable. But again, also having the maturity of knowing when it's time to say, you know what, this was so out of my control that I can't really be upset. I did what I could do, and I'm just not what they're looking for today.
Exactly. And one really good example, I'm 5'10", maybe almost 5'11". So my height is either it's the reason I get hired sometimes, or it's the reason I don't get hired. Sometimes it's, oh my God, you're 5'10", you're hired. Other times it's, whoa, you're really, really, really tall.
Yeah, totally.
And there's nothing I can do about it. And it sometimes hinders me from getting the job. And other times I'm immediately getting the job despite everything else. And some people straight up don't care. And so I think not necessarily height, but there's something always. Maybe one person doesn't like your face. Someone else loves your face. It's not the end of the world. It's just that time, that day, that judging table, that position, whatever it is. You have to learn to not take it personally, kind of take it for what it is, see what you can learn from it, and try to move forward.
Absolutely. Like you said, sometimes they don't like your face. Sometimes they do. I remember getting feedback, kind of a sideways feedback from someone who had an inside line on an audition I did. And the reason I didn't book the show was the person casting it. For whatever reason, I reminded them of their ex-boyfriend. And that was it. That was the only reason. Had nothing else to do with my ability. Just that. Crazy.
I don't want to see his face. Get him out of here.
That's it. Craziness. All right. Well, let's move on to a time that I like to call your spotlight moment. That one moment in time you realized, yes, I am going to be an entertainer for a living. Or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing as an entertainer. Tell us about that.
The moment that I realized I wanted to be a dancer, my dad took me to the Tina Turner What's Love Got to Do with It concert.
Amazing.
And I was sitting there and I was just not moving. And he goes, "Are you okay?" I was just staring like slack mouthed at the stage. And he goes, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to do that." And he goes, "What? Be Tina Turner?" And I was like, "No, them." And it was the backup dancers and their fringy little two pieces, Proud Mary, doing the shimmies, jumping up and down the whole time. That was when I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be a dancer. And honestly, I think I was 6 or 7 at that time. From that time until now, any time I have ever gotten to dance to Proud Mary, it makes my life. It makes me so happy. And I've gotten to do it for dance competitions and high school poms. And there was a little section in fantasy. And it just always makes me so happy to dance to Tina Turner.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you said that you were at the concert and you're just blank, just staring, and your dad had to go, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, just not moving.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that experience. And it's always when I'm watching something that I'm absolutely in awe of. It's like it's so much that the whole rest of my body can't do anything else. It just has to just be paralyzed and absorb what's coming in through my eyes and my ears. It's amazing. But I'm loving life. I'm loving everything that's coming in. But if you looked at me, you certainly wouldn't think I was enjoying the show.
You're just so engrossed and you're taking it all in. And I think he was kind of heartbroken at first because the whole reason he took me, I had this Tina Turner cassette tape and I would play it over and over and make up dances in my room and, the whole thing, dress up, jump around. And so he's thinking I should be dancing and singing like a normal person at the concert. But no, I was just frozen, taking every single thing in.
Yeah, I love that. Well, let's piggyback on that question quick, and let's talk about your number one booked it moment. Walk us through that day, the auditions and callbacks, if they happen to be a part of it. What was going on in your life, and what about that moment makes it your favorite booked it moment?
Honestly, probably my favorite booked it moment was when I got offered the position at Folies Bergère. So I had graduated from college and I was working at 2 different bars. I was running food if I wasn't scheduled. They were just trying to get extra money in my pocket so I could move to Las Vegas. Everyone knew I wanted to do it. And I came to Vegas for a week and just went to tons of auditions. And I was at the audition for, I believe it was Show in the Sky. And someone saw me there and gave me the direct number to the company manager at Folies Bergère and said they would love you. Just call them. They'll give you a private audition. I guarantee you'll get a job. So I called, auditioned, watched the show. I was flying out that night. So I had been auditioning all week long. This is my last night. I went and auditioned for the company manager. I flew home to Detroit and I got a call the next day and she goes, "We needed you here yesterday. When can you get here?" So
oh my
I
gosh.
my whole apartment on campus. I put everything I had in like 2 suitcases and I flew to Vegas and that was that. And I started rehearsals at Folies Bergère. I actually knew someone who had just moved here and I kind of crashed on his couch for about a month until I got a roommate in my own place. I had no car. He was driving me to rehearsals and everything.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't care. I was here and I was doing it.
Of course, you're like, you know what? I'm here. I'm going to get this job. And then I'll figure everything else out because I got what I actually came here for. Everything else will happen.
To this day, I can't even believe the balls that I had as this young kid because there was no smartphones. I actually took a city bus in Las Vegas from the Tropicana to whatever place on Sahara where the Quest Diagnostics. I just asked people on the bus how to get there and what bus to take.
Amazing. Yeah, because it's so hard to find the resources back then. Hey.
Yeah, I didn't care. I was making it happen. I thought I was on the movie Showgirls. So I was just out here making it happen.
I love that. So good. And let's take a moment to talk about the present. What projects are you working on now? What are you looking forward to? And Look, it's a crazy time. We are amidst this global pandemic. How do you see the entertainment industry moving forward in the next couple of years?
So currently, I'm trying to stay in shape. I'm doing a lot of outdoor activity, yoga, trying to stay dialed into dancing. It is hard for me. I think I feed off of the energy, even of just being in a real dance class with other people. The whole Zoom class, Instagram live thing was really hard for me. But I've been taking gigs and I'm really excited that people still want to be entertained, even though their gatherings have to be small. Usually the guests have to wear masks, we have to wear masks, so it's slightly altered, but people still want that entertainment element, whether it's dancers or showgirls. I think that's a good feeling that they still want us there. I just think it's gonna have to be a little more creative. We're gonna have to reimagine how we interact with the people that we're entertaining. Right now, I find that they think it's a novelty that the showgirls are wearing masks or the dancers are wearing masks. I think that will wear off, but I'm hoping that we get back to at least having showrooms, even if it's socially distant in the audience. People need to be entertained.
Yeah, absolutely. And did I see you on a social media post in the Jubilee costumes for a big opening of Bally's?
Yes, we did the Jubilee costumes for the grand opening of the Flamingo, which was the first day casinos opened back in the beginning of June,
Oh,
which was
okay.
very exciting that they used showgirls for the grand opening of the strip. And then Bally's used the Jubilee finale costumes for their grand reopening, and we had an Elvis and some dancers. And everyone in the hotel kept telling us that how much they missed all the Jubilee dancers and the Jubilee show, and they were wondering if it was coming back. You know, it was sad to say it's not. You have a show coming in, but I've heard shows aren't coming back until 2021, which makes me a little bit anxious. But it's more time for us to train and get in shape, maybe be creative ourselves. I think Vegas was kind of on its way to changing one more time, anyways. It was kind of going away from the big production shows and more into these headliners and even the mega nightclubs. It seems like that might be on its way out, having all those people crammed into a space, but I hope they can still figure it out because I very much enjoy my job dancing in a nightclub.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love all that insight. And I think that you are correct that Vegas was already feeling like it's time for a switch, it's time for a transition. Of course, I don't think really anyone knew what that was going to be. And now we really don't know what it's going to be, but we certainly, I think, have more of a direction of where it has to go. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the near future.
Yeah, I know all of us are anxious to get back to dancing and working and doing what we love, but it's fun to see in the meantime what creative ways people are finding of providing entertainment or still having shows. I've seen some drive-in shows here in town with live performance, and I know the Mayfair Supper Club has been running, so that's all exciting, and hopefully some of the other venues can take some cues and maybe we can figure out ways to get more things open.
Absolutely. Well, let's move on to one of my favorite sections in the interview. I call it the Grease Lightning Round. I am going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible, one after another. Are you ready?
I hope so.
All right, first question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career as an entertainer?
Nothing.
Love it.
I immediately graduated and here I am.
Great. Second question. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Try to be as versatile as possible. Fake it till you make it. Be confident.
Great. Third question. What is something that is working for you right now? Or, if you like to go pre-COVID, what was working for you before our industry went on pause?
Staying connected with people and always being personable. People know that you're going to show up and do a good job. Sometimes that goes further than the best talented person. And I always try to give out what I can and hopefully it comes back.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the fourth question, what is your best resource? Whether that is a book, a movie, a YouTube video, a podcast, maybe a piece of technology that you found is helping your career right now.
I honestly think social media is probably the best resource. The more that you put out there, it seems like the more calls that I get. When I was in shows, I always got booked as a showgirl, and when I was go-going, I always got booked as a go-go. So I think that's the proof.
Yeah, I love that. And I like that you brought that up because so many people still are discounting the power that social media has. Maybe it's because they feel they're a little bit behind the eight ball on it. Maybe you don't want to admit that this is a legitimate part of the industry and our industry and getting work now. But the fact is, it's here to stay. It is how we are getting hired. It's what casting directors are looking for. So you have to jump on board. And I'm so glad that you brought that up and that you are doing that and you are making social media work for you.
I agree with you. And I have evidence that last gig that I just did, the casting director said they went on Facebook to specifically be reminded of who has worn Jubilee costumes so they could book someone who had done so into those costumes.
There you have it, right there. And the fifth question. If you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in this industry, what would you do or not do? Would you do anything differently, or would you keep it the same?
It's such a tough question because I always wished I had done cruise ships. I would have to trade off going to college to do that. And I made so many good friends, but I think there's maybe no need to have gone to college for dance. It was a great experience, but I wish I had done more shows, more traveling. I love everything I did, but I wish I would have done more.
Yeah. And, a few people in these podcasts have brought up their experiences on ships, but no one has said, I wish I would have done ships. And I'm glad that you said that because I really, really thoroughly enjoyed my time on ships. I'm glad I did them for the length of time that I did them. And what I love about them is that you get so many reps on stage. You get so much performance experience in various styles that you really get the opportunity to hone your skills, I think more so than any training program that I've ever been a part of could have offered me. Plus you're getting paid, plus you're traveling.
Exactly.
Love it.
That's the only thing. But, when I was graduating high school, the internet was not what it was these days. I would have had no idea in a suburb of Detroit how to even go about getting on a cruise ship at that point.
Totally. And we're all so fortunate now, and especially the younger people that are up and coming into this industry listening to this podcast. You're so fortunate because you have everything at your fingertips right now, and there's so much information available. The whole world is quite literally your oyster. I love it. And the last question, what is the golden nugget knowledge drop you've learned from your successful career in this industry you'd like to leave with our listeners?
I think the best golden nugget, it's not even from being professional, it's even growing up, is just to always be nice to everyone and network and think of if people like to work with you, they're going to want to work with you. That's going to go really far for you in professional world because once you get to professional level, everyone can dance. Everyone has trained. Everyone is here to dance. But it comes down to, well, who's enjoyable to work with? Who's going to be easy? Who's going to show up? Who's going to work hard? And that goes a lot farther than sometimes being the best dancer.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. Being nice to everyone is paramount to having a successful career. And to wrap up this interview, Brittany, it is time to give yourself a plug. Where can we find you? How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote?
You can find me on Instagram at LVBrittanyG, and on Facebook, I am Brittany Guinane. And the only thing I would like to promote is that as things are opening up, to try, if you are comfortable, to try to support people who are maybe teaching a class. If you're not comfortable, I know some studios, even though they're doing it in person, you can still go over Zoom and make a donation or pay online. Or if there's performances happening, just do what you can to support because it's not going to happen overnight where everything is suddenly open and ready to go. I think it's going to be slow, and the more we can support the slow trickle of things happening, it'll ramp up a little faster. At least that's what I think.
Perfect. And for everyone out there listening, I put the links to both of our social media handles in the description of this episode so you can easily click and connect. Brittany, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. My one call to action for you is to go to youbookeditpodcast.com and join our free email community, where we dig deep into a continually growing resource of truly actionable things you can be doing right now to help advance your entertainment career. Don't miss an episode. We have a new guest 7 days a week. Search for You Booked It on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app and subscribe today. All the best to you. We'll see you tomorrow.